Welcome to the Maria Gonçalves podcast. I'm your host, Maria, and today we have a special guest all the way from Ontario, a local girl, Rhonda Elliott. So, welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you, Maria. It's nice to see you in person again. Just
It
lovely.
is it is so nice to see you. So, Rhonda, you're actually because I was on your website, so you do Reiki healing,
Yes,
yes? Chakra balancing.
yes.
Yeah,
And
I've
do
had that
healing through
done.
your Akashic records, Reiki through your Akashic records. So I'll actually take you into your Akashic records, especially if I'm distance from you, and then go into your Akashic records. So we're kind of like, if you've done Reiki distantly before, then we're kind of like soul to soul. It's hard to explain, but I work through your Akashic records to do Reiki distance with you as well.
Does that include an Akashic record reading?
Huh,
Is that the same
Well,
thing?
it can be.
Okay.
Sometimes messages come through, but usually that's not where I've ever focused. Like a lot of people do, but with like my co-host Teresa on my podcast, she will go into your past lives. That's her gift. My gift is just the healing mainly, but
Mm.
people will get visions through because we're going into your Akashic records. It's all for you. And usually I'll actually feel your body in my body a lot of times, like I'll feel where you need to be balanced or whatever's going on. And yeah, that sometimes messages will come through and then I'll maybe pull a card at the end that really speaks to whatever's going on in your life. And,
Do you do that like through distance or does it have
oh,
to be in person?
oh no, I have people all over the world I do it with. Yeah, in fact, during COVID, when we were talking about that earlier, I had a lot of clients that I couldn't see. And so I said, well, let's try it through your Akashic records. And they said, though a lot of people just love to have the touch that Reiki
Yeah.
involves as well as a healing on energy. But Reiki is about distance healing. Like you and I are talking, we're 6 hours apart by the 401 or 5 hours apart by the 401.
Yeah.
But you and I, so it's the same thing. It's just energy being exchanged.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a clients in the UK and I've done, in Australia and everywhere. Yeah, it's
Oh,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, Reiki works that way. It's really cool. It works over distance. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I just wasn't curious if you did it or not. So, but now I know. So I like that. And then you do angel card readings too, correct?
Yes, through Kyle. Remember, well, we're part of the angel team for Kyle Gray or the angel team. So yeah, that's where I learned um to really delved into that gift or that tool of angel card readings. Yeah, as well through Kyle
And
Gray.
that's
And we
where we
met, that's where we
met.
met. Yeah.
Yes. And that was like 2017.
Was it 2017?
I
Oh, wow.
remember. I
Oh, that
remember
was,
that year because I was looking for meditation. I needed something to calm my nerves down, and I couldn't find anything locally. And then an advertisement came through of Kyle Gray with angel certification to learn to meditate with angels. And I was like, oh my God, meditation. And then it was Sunday mornings for me here in like just outside Toronto, Canada. So I'm like, perfect, I'm in. So that was the reason I signed up. And then I just fell in love with the course and we all stayed connected because it was such an amazing tribe of people that year, eh? Because
oh
that was
yeah,
his first year doing it
yeah, it was. That's true. And he's
online. Yeah.
just such a amazing, gifted person. Like he's just got that all-inclusive energy. Like he just like gives
It
you a
was
hug
fun.
and you know him forever. Like, you know what I mean? It's just wonderful. And we had so much fun that weekend. It was great. Great.
Yeah, it was fun. He ended up coming to Canada. Did you go to Toronto to meet him? Like he came through Hay House.
Yeah, that's how I met him. And I actually volunteered at that Hay House at that workshop. And that's one way, but we were sitting in the lobby when he came in and like
Yeah,
I thought, well, if I can get it to be a volunteer, then I'll go to that conference. And they picked me and I was
yeah.
able to go to the conference and I stayed there and met him and it was just awesome. And all the other presenters from Hay House were there too, that I was quite blown away with as well that time.
That
So that
was
was,
fun because there was Colette Baron Reed.
yeah.
There was
Oh,
Bradley Valentine.
Yes.
And there was John Holland, because it was
Oh,
all about not tarot cards, cards. It was
yeah, cards. Yeah,
Tarot. It was angel cards. It was all about cards that day, that whole event. So that
yeah,
was the fun event. Oh my god. So you were there?
yeah.
I bet. You know what?
That's
I
where we
took
met.
pictures. Did we
Yeah, we,
there? I don't
yes, yeah,
remember
that's
that
where
day.
we
I
met.
remember them.
Yeah, we met just
That's
before the
right. We
event.
did. We did. We did. You're right. Because I remember. Because then that's right. It took me a while.
It's okay. It's been 6 or 7 years. So yeah, that's where we met. And that's when I finally tracked you down for our podcast because I kept seeing you and seeing you
Yeah.
and go, I know that woman. I know that woman. I want to get her on her show. No, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
I was like so terrified. I was so scared. I'm like, this chick, she won't leave me alone. She keeps asking me to be on her podcast. I was so terrified. And then I think you were like the second podcast I did. I was horrified of speaking, of being seen, of being recorded. Like now I'm having fun with it, but I was so terrified. And then when I went on your podcast, because I do want to let people know it's called Spirit Sessions, A View of the Light. And I thought it would be fun today to talk about podcasting because I'm coming up to my 6 month anniversary of doing podcasts, which is not a lot in the podcast world, but it is for me who's all new to this. And I know you've been doing it for 7 years now. So if you could
Yes.
share what's it like doing a podcast, and you have podcast hosts, you have
Oh yeah,
Bex Marie.
this was not my idea. This was my co-host Teresa Warren's idea. We all went to the Akashic Academy together, and
Yeah.
the Akashic Academy decided to have a little like channel. So everybody that was in the Akashic Academy school decide, if they had a show or they wanted to present their gifts or whatever, they could have a little segment of time with the Academy. So we thought, okay, promote our gifts. And Teresa said, well, I have an idea for a show. I want to do The View. Like The View, we have, like, she had a couple of other co-hosts. So Bex Marie's the other co-host. She's a channeler and she does cards as well. Teresa does Akashic Records and all sorts of things. And she does past lives and everything. Um, so, she dragged Bex and I along, and Bex and I are going, yeah, okay, we'll do it with you, Teresa. This will last like 3 months and then it'll be done, right? We didn't think it
Yeah.
would go any more than 3 months. That was 7 years ago. So it's been about 7.5 years. And first we were terrified like you. We were absolutely terrified. It was all Facebook Live programming, and you know how terrible that was at the beginning. And we'd blow up. We'd blow up Facebook Live with our energy, and people
Yeah.
go, what? I said, we just blank it out at times. So we found different platforms. Finally, we just settled on StreamYard, but that could hold the energy. And we just started that. Teresa would ask everybody. She'd she'd ask she'd ask people that you wouldn't think. She asked Dee Wallace. We had Dee Wallace on from, Cujo, the actress Dee Wallace, and she was doing stuff about self-help stuff. So we had her and interviewed her. We interviewed, of course, all our classmates because that was the low-hanging fruit. But then we go
Yeah.
out and ask Parashni or Melissa Virtue, or, she just
Wow.
asked people and they come. And Diana Cooper has been on her show, and she's coming on again in another few weeks. Then we'd ask like Jim Harold from the Paranormal Podcast. He's like the original podcast guy.
Yeah.
Oh, let's ask him. He said yes. Oh my God, he said yes. Can you believe? Nicest guy in the world. So yeah, that's how we started. And the first few shows, we call them kind of like talk shows. We were rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. And Teresa would go and she'd have nervous stomach. She'd throw up before every show. It was hilarious. And she'd take post-it notes so she couldn't see her face on the camera. So,
Yeah.
but now it's like, yeah, we used to even interview our guests a little bit before. We'd have a meet and greet so we could get into the vibe. And
Yeah.
sometimes we still do that. It depends how tech savvy they are. Because at the
Yeah.
beginning, remember, nobody was really into this genre. They weren't into this. They weren't even technical at all. Like we think we're having problems with podcasts, and they were having problems just turning on the cameras on their laptops and talking to us. So
Yes.
we'd have to walk through some of the people, like the tech. Okay, you push that button. Yeah, we're good. Okay, yeah, we'll be good. And that was how it happened. But after about 4 or 5 shows, everybody calmed down and, we were relaxed and there were no more nerves. And yeah, and we don't edit our show. It's a live show. And what
I
happens,
know.
happens. And sometimes it's hilarious what happens. But like I turn off the show in the middle of the show by mistake. Like that's happened. So yeah.
I was just sharing earlier, I'm still trying to figure out how to put a professional mic attached to the Zoom for the recording, because then I upload this into Descript because I actually edit. Because
Oh,
I'm
good.
like, I say stupid things sometimes. I need to edit myself. So I'm
Oh,
getting better, or I'll repeat myself like 10 times and I'll listen to him like, oh my God, really? Did I just say like the same sentence 10 times because of my nerves? So I think
right.
I'm in the editing part phase right now, but I can't wait to be where I finally trust myself and be like, okay, we're just gonna like as is and go publish and not worry about it. But
Yeah,
not there yet.
it's so nice. Like I'm more like if the video, like with StreamYard, it cleans it up too.
Mhm.
So it doesn't come from our base. It goes into StreamYard and it cleans up the audio a bit. As long as the audio is good, I'm happy. I mean, if like we're people, we're not professional presenters, and they want to
Right.
hear real authentic people and talking to other authentic people. And I don't, I just let downloads or spirit ask me, or, we get off on tangents, and that's okay. It's okay. It all works out. Dogs barking in the background, people
Yeah.
laughing, whatever. Things happen. We don't stress about it anymore like we used to, you know.
Okay, good. So there's hope for me. I'm
Oh,
gonna let go of the
absolutely.
stress.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that part.
And you're by yourself, right? It's sort
Yes.
of, which is harder because you don't have like, I can't hide behind my team here. I'm just pressing buttons. Yeah. So if you can imagine me being probably the oldest on the team, being the tech
Yeah.
person, that's very scary. That's
Wow. Well,
very
like
scary.
you know more than me already because I don't even know how to use StreamYard. Like I use Zoom. So, but it's like you say, it's one day at a time. You'll figure it out. Eventually, hopefully, in the next month, I can figure out how to add my professional mic because I've already done 2 interviews where I added the professional mic. Because right now I'm just using this and the computer audio where I've hit record. Best interview ever, no audio, and then we have to go redo it again. So I'm like, I am so terrified of microphones right now, but I'm sure I will get over that fear once I figure out what went wrong. Where did I click? So I think it's important too to share with those that are listening, especially for those that want to create their very first podcast is this stuff happens, right? Like this happens. Like all the techie stuff going sideways. Are you there, Rhonda, or did you freeze? Rhonda? Hello? And where did Rhonda go? I don't know. And this is what happens in the techie world. Rhonda somehow froze and has disappeared. So we'll wait and see if she comes back. Oh no. So hopefully Rhonda joins us again. It looks like her internet kicked her out of their Zoom meeting. So hopefully we'll see her very soon. And that's just part of recording a podcast. You have no idea what's gonna happen ever. And there's always surprises. So you just keep going through. And let's see if she comes back. Okay, guys. So I'm just gonna continue on with the interview to see if Rhonda's able to join us again because somehow she got kicked out of Zoom and I'm not really sure where she went. into the Zoom world. And hopefully she comes back to us soon. So some of the fun things I've learned over the last 6 months of doing podcasting. First of all, I got involved in podcasting because I saw an advertisement with Kathy Heller, and that was last summer. And I've always wanted to do my very own podcasting, but I was always too afraid to do podcasting. So when I saw that, I joined because I thought, oh my goodness, this will be so much fun. And I met the most incredible women within this podcasting group. And we meet every Wednesday and we just help support each other because a lot of the podcasters were doing it by ourselves. Whereas Rhonda is so fortunate that she has teamed up with Bex Marie and Teresa Warren. So the three of them produce this show. I believe it's every Sunday around noon, but I will confirm that with her. And I'm going to put all of her links within the show notes so you guys are able to find her. She's been doing it for 7 years. I've only been doing it for 6 months. And look at that. As we're recording, of course, we end up with a techie issue. So, yeah, what are you going to do? That's just part of podcasting. I was not expecting her to disappear off my screen, but she has. And I keep talking, hoping she'll come back, but she's not coming back. So I don't know what happened. Maybe her internet just went down. Um, so some of the fun things, like she was talking about, is how one of her co-hosts is so courageous, because I feel like it does take a lot of courage to go out there and invite all of these incredible people. First of all, to have the courage to invite people to be on your podcast. And then what I find so amazing is people be like, oh my goodness, you want me to be on your podcast? And I'm like, just I'm nobody. I'm just Maria over here. But just like her, and realizing how gracious people are and also want to help you on your journey. And look, Rhonda is back. So just give her a minute as she comes back in the room. Hey, Rhonda, I have just been talking by myself as it's recording while you disappeared.
That's okay. You were frozen. And I was going to say, this internet, like that was always my biggest worry for the first few years, was our internets would go out or they'd just blow up or it would pause and our guests' internet would not be that great. Finally, we got stable internet. And I was just thinking of that when my internet went out. And yeah, so ha ha ha, you guys are so funny. Yeah.
Okay,
We
you
used
know what? That's a first for me. Okay. I just like talk by myself. I'm like, I'm just gonna fill up space and share while we wait for you. And then I thought, is it my internet? So then I hotspot my phone. I'm like, I'm doubling up on internet. And you kind of disappeared, and then you're back. So when you disappeared, I think we were talking about like techie issues.
I know. And that's when I shouldn't think about stuff like that because then it appears, right? It manifests. I don't know. I was just thinking, yeah, the worst thing was the internet, worrying about the internet. And we had guests. We had programs disappear. Like when we interviewed Laura Eisenhower, it disappeared off the air. Like they had taken it off the air on us. And
Oh, really? Why? You don't know.
she was controversial.
Okay.
And she disappeared, but we had also had downloaded the program so we could re-upload it. So, and then one of our guests, who's one of our guest hosts, her name's Katie Steinle. She went all technicolor because the energy was coming in so strong that
Yeah.
she went psychedelic and was pixelating. And she said, I could see things coming in my room when we were doing some qigong. And she said,
Yeah.
this portal opened up and this was all live. And she says, it's all going on. And she was all technicolor, like as if you put one of those weird filters on her. We were
Yeah.
normal. She was technicolor. It was the strangest things. But yeah, those things have happened. We had Jim Perry from Euphomet, who does another paranormal podcast, and he was talking to us, and he's super techy, and he's like, it's all about the audio, and I'm going,
Yeah.
oh my God, we can't even get you on the picture without blowing up. His equipment was so high tech that we had to take him off camera because otherwise he would just blow up the system. He couldn't hold it. Yeah. The tech stuff is great. And remember how our graphics were very crude and, limited. But then Canva came around and makes everybody look like they're a professional, right? It's
Doesn't
lovely.
it? I love Canva.
I know. And Bex Marie, she's our Canva specialist. She just loves playing with it. So I let her go to it. She makes beautiful graphics every time. It's like her hobby. So go for it, girl. You know, and Teresa, she just loves to write she writes the posts and she loves writing and she writes like I said, she'll write anybody and ask them to be on the show. And so,
I was just talking about that when you froze and disappeared and got kicked out, and now you're back. And I was talking about how cool it is uh, to ask guests because that actually takes a lot of courage. I was so terrified to ask people. First, you start with your friends, right? Like people you know. And then I have this one friend, I love her. She is like I call her my agent. I'm like, you're my podcast agent. And she gets paid with lots of hugs. But she will be like, Maria, have you thought about getting this guest or that guest? And I'm like terrified. And she'd be like, why haven't you asked? They're just people like us. But like
they
that
are.
fear. And she's just like, you don't ask, I'm gonna go ask. And she asks and she gets me guests, which I love. And I'm just like, I'm even though I may come across super confident, it's scary reaching out to complete strangers. I find I'm getting better at it to be like, would you like to be on my podcast? Because it's so outside my comfort zone. So I'm learning my comfort zone is stretching.
Yeah.
Like,
And,
do
and,
you
and
do
what's the
that?
worst they can say to you?
Absolutely. They can
They
ignore
say,
my emails because I've had
what,
that.
which happens, or they can say,
They can
oh, I'd
say
be so
no.
honored. I'd love
Yeah.
to come and chat. Oh, well, here's a little secret we do. We send our team to talk to their team. But in the last little while, we've had a few people who are like publicists or like they schedule people for media to come and they'll say, we have this list of guests and wow, that makes it so great. Michelle Freed, she used to work on the Art Bell show and she wrote
Yeah.
us and say, hey, I've got these guests and we're saying, oh yeah, cool. Like, and she just has them, schedules them onto our show and sends us all the information. And it's like, thanks for thinking about us. Like, that's awesome. So
I find
that,
too, I've noticed like on this journey, what once you start to build your reputation doing the podcast and people feel safe being interviewed by you, uh, it's like the universe conspires to support you. Because I find at the end of a guest interview, they'll be like, do you need more guests? I have friends. And I'm like, yes, you let me know
that's
your friends because then it makes my life easier.
who wouldn't want to be interviewed by you? That's what I like. Of course they will. And just
Yeah.
remember you're a gift. You're helping expose them to the world and in the nicest possible way. And that's what our whole mission was not only to get people like at the beginning, people were not used to that media. So we had a lot of easy pickings from people. They were nervous coming on to talk to us and we were nervous talking to them because we,
Scared.
had them up on yeah, scared. But we feel that like we know how you feel and don't worry, but we give us 15 minutes before the show and by the end like before we hit live, you'll be no problem. And
Yeah.
I think that happens. And then we just like, yeah, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Because three heads and then it just like takes over. So
I
yeah,
think
it's
that's
sweet.
I think that's great because now I have a list of people to reach out to, and I'm so excited because people are like, "Well, you don't know this person, but have you thought about this person?" And the one thing I noticed as part of my own spiritual development, as being a medium, a psychic, a healer, but just mostly on this spiritual journey, have you noticed how much you've grown and evolved? Because each time you interview somebody, I feel like from my own experience, I learned so much and then I go and I'm like, huh, how does that fit in with my truth?
Yeah. I mean, seriously,
Yeah,
it's like we get a master class. We
yeah,
reach out to people we would want to meet and talk to.
yeah,
And sometimes they're not, they're not high profile, hey house people, because those are hard to get. We reach out and it's like whoever like I don't even know, pings you when you're looking
yeah,
through Facebook and those groups and you go,
yeah,
oh, that person would be interesting to meet. And
yeah,
and and then some people just kind of gel with you. And
yeah,
because we have an interactive show, which I don't know, you probably don't have it because it's live. We have interact. So we have people talking to us all the time through the chat and that. So some of those people we just call on and say, hey, you want to co-host with us? Oh, and sometimes you just call your son-in-law in the middle of the morning and say, hey, my guest hasn't showed up. He's like 20 minutes late. You want to come on? Because I have to fill like 40 minutes here. And so- and then my guest finally shows up. That's when I tried to learn how to edit because I had to edit me out for the first 20 minutes. But yeah, so
oh, wow. So your show is every Sunday at noon or something?
yeah, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. in the UK time, because we have a lot of people from the UK, and it's sometime in the morning in Australia, because we guests in Australia are particularly challenging, and we have to do a lot of time zone surfing, because we have one host that's in the Netherlands, so she's 6 hours, and she has a friend
Yeah.
that's in Australia, so we're doing pre-recording a podcast at 5 a.m. in the morning to get everybody on sort of like a half decent time. Um, but
Oh,
most of our
yes.
lives,
The
yeah.
times. I just did interview Jeffrey. The podcast comes out tomorrow. And he's Netherlands. So getting that I just say, this is my time in Canada, Eastern Standard Time. Where are you in the world? And then I've had a few guests from Australia. So I just know my evening is their morning. I remember that. So yes, the 12-hour difference, 15 hours difference. So I think ended up interviewing Karen from the animal communicator from Angel Tribe
Oh,
from
Karen.
Austria.
Okay.
Do you remember her? So
No, not
she's early in I think it was like 5 in the morning
oh
to
my
get
God.
her like late in the afternoon. But it was so much fun because I get excited to interview the guests. So it doesn't really matter like what time, because it's not like I'm doing live readings. That's different. I think I'd be like half asleep. But yeah, because of that energy and excitement of just like, oh my goodness, I get to interview you. How cool is that?
Yeah, and it's really time traveling, eh? Because it's just its construct, right? So it's interesting how, and then they don't have daylight time savings and we do, and oh man, that gets into another realm and things get kind of messed around there. But yeah,
I
it's
learned my
just
lesson the first time I tried to interview a friend in Australia. She was on Zoom. I didn't realize she was a day earlier on Zoom. I thought it was the next day. So
oh
after that, now I go and do the Zoom calculate, not the Zoom, the time universal calculator, put in the exact date where I am to make sure I get the exact date for Australia so I don't miss them. Because with her, it was a friend. So she's like, it's okay, we'll just reschedule. It's like, "You got the wrong day, Marie, you didn't show up." I was there, it's like, "Oh my god." So, yeah, and that was, like I think she was, like, my 2nd interview or 3rd interview on my
oh,
podcast.
that's a real hard blow. Yeah. I think we didn't even know what we were going to talk about at the beginning. So we talked about general subjects, about crystals and about angels and about whatever. And we
Yeah,
had a script and we went by it. Once we decided we could get people to talk about it rather than ourselves, it became so much easier because there's a world of experts out there. And like John Holland says, the world needs us. There's lots of us out there, but there's more people that need us out there than there are. So we're not in competition with each other.
yeah.
We're on the same team, spreading the light wherever, right? So that what he said to me, and he was one of the few people I didn't really know at that conference we went to. You know, that's so true. We are needed to spread our light and everywhere we go. So if I can expose this person and expose this person so people can get some truth from them and, never know who it's going to resonate with. And,
Absolutely.
and
And then too, 8 billion people walk the earth.
yeah,
Right? So there is zero competition. Because then too, like I took the podcasting course with Kathy Heller, and her whole thing was because she'd be like, oh, you can't say that somebody's done that podcast like that, like, oh, I'll never be successful because they've done it. She's like, but it's not you. And there's
that's
8
right.
billion people that walk the earth, and we're not for everybody. She goes, first of all, you are not for everybody. Remember that. You have your tribe out there. That's why there's 8 billion people walking the earth. And they need your voice just the way you're made to communicate that message your way so they can hear it on their frequency.
Absolutely. It's so true. And like I've listened to your podcast. It's wonderful. And I can
Thank you.
listen to your podcast. I can't listen to everybody's podcast. Some voices just like don't resonate with me. Some of the messages don't resonate. They may be telling me the same stuff, but maybe they're just a generation apart and I can't
Yeah.
listen to them. I don't know. It's just they're too cool for me. Sorry. But I don't know if you haven't had maybe had some guests. Some guests are so easy. Like,
Yeah.
um, we've had some wonderful guests that come on and great storytellers, and we just sit back and just kind of fold our arms and just listen and like, go ahead, keep going, keep going. We don't have, we don't need to really go. It's other people, they have very short answers and you're going,
Yeah.
keep speaking a little bit more. So you have to ask more questions, but some people you just go, no, take it away. Like Michael Lozier. I don't know if you know him. He's the
No.
one who did the law of attraction. He was on Oprah channel. He came on
Oh,
fun.
okay.
Yeah, law of
Yeah.
attraction, body code, emotion code. He just gives he just came on and he had a whole like workshop for us.
Oh, I love
So
that.
I know. And same with Diana Cooper. She just did a workshop on unicorns with us. And she said, now we're going to do a meditation. She just kept going on. It's like, go for it. You know what you're talking about. We're just going to sit here and smile. That's all we're going to have to do. Other people are a little more difficult and you have to kind of lead the conversation. They have lots to say, but maybe it's their nerves and they just can't say and
It's
speak up.
scary, I tell you. It's scary. You see the little red recording button, and or you're on live, like on your show, and you're like live, and you're like, oh my God, what if I say the wrong thing? So it's like we're our own worst enemies here, right? Because I don't think nobody else cares, but we're judging ourselves.
Oh, severely. And that's why it's nice to have two or three other people on with you. Because
I know.
take it away, Teresa,
Yeah,
go ahead. And what did you think, Teresa?
I like that.
Poor
That
Teresa.
works.
Oh, I said, they'll say, what, how was that meditation? I'll say, Teresa, you always have such good feedback on the meditation. And usually when people are doing a meditation on our show, I can't get into it because I'm too worried that everything's working. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want the show to go out and I got my one eye open, trying to do it.
yeah.
Teresa's totally gone. Like she's off in wherever the world. And I'm like, okay, one of us has to stay steering the ship. So I'll stay steered. I'll listen to it later. Listen back. Oh, have you
Oh my
listened back
goodness.
to your show? That's another question. Do you listen back? I guess you
Yes,
have
because
to.
I edit. Yes.
Yeah,
And do you
editing.
know what's weird? In the beginning, like I would record it and I would be, I don't know, I'm just weird. I'd be terrified to listen because I'd be like, oh my God, that was so horrible. I sounded so whatever. And I'm like telling myself a million things that's wrong with that interview. And then I have to wait like a couple of days. And then I go and I listen to my voice because then I do like little audio clips. So I have to go in there and listen. And then I'm like, wait, that actually sounded really good.
Yeah, I didn't
And
sound so stupid after all. Holy cow. I know. I know. Well, it
but
was
in
like
my
a
head,
year
I'm
before
like,
we could even watch ourselves. So don't feel bad.
it's hard because you're like, oh my God. I don't know. And then it's like, no, it sounds really good. Or I'll get feedback from friends that'll be like, no, that sounded fantastic. I loved it. I'm like, really? I thought I sounded like an idiot, but thank you. And then in the beginning, I found, I don't know if this happened to you, where I would do so much research on people, like for them coming on the pod, and I'd have like my 100 questions laid out, and it's gonna happen point A, point B, point C, like all lined up. And now I'm like, I'm finally relaxing more and just only have like 2, 3 questions in my head or written down with their bio, but I'm starting to let go of the control because I need it to be easier. And I'm like, there's got to be an easier. Obviously, I feel I need to do a little bit of research. I need to know who my guests are, right?
Oh,
That
yeah,
are
you wanna
coming
make
on.
sure you haven't got some weird people and you're going, "Ugh." No, you wanna have some connection, right?
Yeah.
And some, yeah. But the one thing about the bio, I used to read people's bio. How boring is it if I tell you their bio? Like, they're sitting right there. You tell us your bio. Like, it's
Yeah.
so much more interesting coming out of your mouth than mine. Why should I
Yeah.
read your bio? Tell us your origin story. Like, that's why people think it's, but I don't want to hear it from me. Like, I could talk about you, but why don't you talk about you? You know more about you than I do. So
That's true.
it's a letting go thing too, though. It's like, yeah.
It's the surrender I'm learning because I've only been doing this for 6 months and my podcast drops every Wednesday. Do you drop one podcast per week, correct?
Yes, one
And then
podcast per week.
do you
Yeah.
guys take a break? I haven't figured that part out yet.
Okay, so we hadn't taken a break in 6.5 years.
Oh
And
my God.
last December, there was a myriad of things going in all in our lives, family stuff going on. It was just a little bit of overwhelm. So we all decided we needed to Bex was super busy at work. She was always gone on Sundays. Teresa had a whole bunch of family and health stuff going on. And I had a whole bunch of family stuff going on, and I was kind of burnt out from kind of carrying the load from them not being there. And it was just getting to be a little bit much because I had a family stuff going on that was taking a lot of my mental energy. So
Mhm.
we decided, okay, that's when I found out that you needed shows that were 1 hour long. So we decided to take a break and we took like a 6 week, like December off and
Yeah.
like 5 weeks in December off. And we just replayed our favorites on the show. And that was okay. So we went back from that year and just replayed our favorites for the year. And I know there's lots of other podcasts that take 2 week breaks and then they'll come back on, and then they'll take another 2 week breaks and they'll come back on. Some of my favorite ones like Astonishing Legends or True Crime Garage. No, sorry. I'm a crime podcast listener. That's something I can listen with my husband and he doesn't go nuts. I don't even think he listens to mine. So he hears my voice enough, apparently. So yeah, that's the breaks we've taken. So I guess it's when once you have enough stuff in that you can put out ahead or you can take a time off, you kind of don't want to leave your audience hanging because I know people missed us. Like, seriously, you missed us? Like, okay. So
Yeah,
I
you become a part of their family and they're used to tuning in every week. It's like, okay, what do the ladies have to say this week? Who are
and
they
who's their
bringing on?
guest? Yeah.
Who's their guest?
Yeah, because it's always about the guest, and we love, Jessica Duga, who owns the Breakthrough Network, and we're on her network as well. So that's a new thing. And then we're on Very Paranormal Network, and Jackie Dennison owns that one in the UK. And so it's lovely to have those people on your back and have another place. And so when people say, like, how many viewers do you have? We don't know because we've got them on this network, we've got them on this network, and so we don't have the analytics, but we don't care. Like
Yeah,
we pick another audience that you guys don't have. So,
yeah.
do we have 10,000 subscribers? Like my daughter has 46,000 on her TikTok. No, but
Ooh,
I know, like, tell me about it. Like, I can't even get 140.
Oh,
But we do have people on our YouTube channel, and we do have people on our podcast that listen regularly. You can see that analytics. It's not me listening over and over again because I
yeah.
don't. Um, but yeah, we have a live show on Sunday. It's simulcast to our YouTube channel and to the Breakthrough Network YouTube channel. And then I'll download it from StreamYard and upload it to the podcast um format. And that goes out from there. Right now it's whatever the Spotify one is, but they're changing there. So I can't do it from them after June, so I have to find a new podcast platform. That's the fun part.
Oh, I'm on Buzzsprout. So they're,
Buzzsprout?
yes, so they're drag and drop. So I
Yeah.
like them because they're super easy for
Yeah,
me to
so
figure
fun.
out. So what would you recommend or suggest for people that are like, I want to do what you've been doing because you've been doing it for 7 years? What are your do's and don'ts for people that's starting off for the very first time and don't know what to do?
Don't try for perfection. You're never going to get it. And just go and ask those people you are interested in. Because if you're interested in, somebody else is going to be interested in them. And if you find them fascinating, most people are flattered when you ask them to be on podcasts. Like, why would you want to talk to me? Well, we find you cool and interesting. So why not? Oh, well, thank you. Okay. Um, don't try to be perfect. I don't edit. You do. That's great. I
Eventually, I
applaud
will
you.
get to, eventually I'll
Yeah,
become you and not edit. I can't wait to get there yet.
I don't, if it was terrible, we wouldn't, I still couldn't edit it because I don't even know how. But nothing's been terrible, and our guests are the way they are. It's like genuine people. So we're not Hollywood stars. We're not a movie. We're just like a talk show. So you get what you get, and we don't have people storming off in a huff or anything like that. So we don't have to worry. They're all friends. And if they weren't friends before the show, they're friends after the show. So we just like
That's
do
so
it. And it's not,
true. That is
you
so
know,
true. Yeah.
shoot for the moon. You might make the stars. Who cares if only 6 people listen to it? That's 6 more people that, were got to listen to something interesting.
Yeah.
There's so, like you say, there's 8 billion people out there, and it's out there for the ever. And you may be a research project for a child
Oh
later on
God.
in life. Like, can you imagine what this is bringing? Like, our subjects are bringing that were never even talked about when we were kids. Like, you might
Yeah.
find them in that little special part of the library, and they were all thumb-eared because the same 6 kids took them out of the library to find out about psychic development and all these things. But so many more people are discovering their gifts and discovering that it's okay, and the world's so much better place for all the healing gifts that have come up. And I think it's wonderful. Like, keep spreading your light. Like, that's what I said. It's there's too much badness in the world not to spread more light. That's how you get rid of it. Positivity. That's our whole point, was to be an alternative to the real news, which is bullshit because it's not real news anyways. It's whatever they
Yeah.
want us to believe. So
I love your podcast because you have the most interesting guests each week. So like I follow you and I love that you're able to get all these guests and they're all different walks of life. Some are super famous, well known, others are not, but at the end of the day, their voice and their message is just as important. One isn't more important because they got thousands of followers and the other one's only got 2 followers or not even on social media. Like that doesn't make a difference. It's they're sharing that message that, and you're the vehicle to help them share that message. I think that's important for people to remember as podcasters is you're there to give to share your opinion, but also to help these people get a voice to more people to share their message of
absolutely.
healing. And to the people that listen, then they're not afraid.
Yeah. I mean, then they realize that there are people out there that they connect to. And maybe it's a message that they need to hear that right at that moment in their life. You don't know what they're going to gain or what hope they're going to get from those messages. Because like we try to be positive and we try to just be a view of the light. We want to spread the light. And if we can bring light into people's lives like you do and like we do, and it's not gloom and doom and it's not sports. So we're good.
I love your podcast. I think you're doing amazing.
Thank
People
you.
should listen, not should. If they feel drawn to, go check out Rhonda's podcast, which is Spirit Sessions, A View of the Light, and with her co-hosts Bex Marie and Teresa Warren, because it drops every Sunday. And then you're on Instagram. I know you're on TikTok because I follow you on TikTok.
Yeah,
Are
we
you on
have an
Instagram?
Instagram account and we have a YouTube channel, which is of the same name, Spirit Sessions View of the Light. Go and subscribe to that and hit the little notify, or go to the Breakthrough Network, which has lots of wonderful uplifting shows every week. We're just happen to be their Sunday show, but they have like all sorts of different shows live through the week, spreading joy, and it's quite uplifting, and different people with different modalities, and they speak about different everyday things. They're great. So yeah,
Yeah. So I want to say thank you for spending the time with me and doing
thank
this
you.
interview and being here on my 6-month anniversary. So I have
Oh,
a
that's
lot to
awesome.
look forward to,
Oh,
which
for
is
sure.
getting rid of all the control. And yes, and more guests and less editing. So I'm so excited for that, and the courage to invite people, but also knowing people are honored to be on your show too. I think that's important to remember because we forgot that part.
Yeah, you're giving them a voice, and like that's what I said. Everybody needs a stage to project from, so it's really nice to give that platform for other people to shine their light.
Yes. So thank you so much for being with us today. All right. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.